Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Lovely to have you with us. And you are watching the Africam Show, brought to you by explore.org. And my name is Russell Gerber, as we look at some fairly innocuous African wild, where not moments ago there was a pride of lions lazing about. Spent most of the day here, if not all of the day, and it seems that they have decided that they want no part of our show, and at the very last minute, just before we started, it got up and walked away. So we'll keep an eye out for them. They may still be amongst the thick bushes around here, but you never know if they might turn up again, come out into an open area. But we will keep an eye out, as I said. But good to have you all with us. I hope you had a lovely weekend. It was a long weekend down here in South Africa. For those celebrating Easter, happy Easter. And so most South Africans had a nice long weekend and probably only went back to work today. But as always, folks, if you have anything on your mind, any questions, anything you'd like to send through to us, please do say hi. Let us know where you're from and where you're watching from. And if you have any ideas on or any questions on the animals that you've seen on the cameras, or anything about the bush, just let us know. It's always fun interacting with you as we cross over to our lovely black eagle nest, where you can see a wing of a black eagle, where what I believe is the female, who's been hanging out on the eggs at the nest for a while. Looks like she just had a little stretch. You can just see that little flash of white. Of course, that black and white, so indicative of the Verreaux's eagle, or what used to be called black eagles. Looks like she's preening herself, not pruning herself. Let's see who's out there. Gemma, hello Gemma, thanks for joining the show today from New Jersey. And Roland Trouble has joined us as well from Washington State, USA. And Suki's with us as well. Hi Suki. Suki says that a male lion passed on the Olifants River game path today. Was that today as well, Suki? Let us know. We'll keep an eye out for him. And Sicko, also back again. Thank you for joining us, Sicko. He says, have a good show. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy it. OMG 23. A lot of our regulars today. Hi, OMG. Thanks for tuning in. The modern version of tuning in. But as I said, thanks for saying hi, everyone. And as I said, we'll keep an eye out on those lions. Of course, last week we were pretty fortunate on the show. We had old Monty and the python, who almost caught a bird live on camera with us. We just got a mouthful of tail feathers. That was lots of fun. So you never know what might happen this time around. It's so nice to have this little secretive view into our black eagle nest. And it'll be very exciting to see what comes over the coming months. hopefully, of course, a couple of chicks. Normally 2, sometimes 3, but almost always, pretty much only 1 makes it all the way to adulthood. They do sometimes commit fratricide, where siblings will actually kill each other for more resources. It's pretty brutal in there. And sometimes just one will be too weak to keep up. It always really depends on the amount of food available, how well mom and dad do when it comes to bringing food back to the nest. But yeah, exciting times ahead of one of Southern Africa's rarer birds of prey. And we got a few more hellos. John Smith from Tasmania. Hi, John. Thank you for joining us. Must be pretty late in the evening or early morning for you. And Pat from Florida. Good to have you back, Pat. Susie in Montana. Hello. And she asks, are all the cameras powered by solar? Susie, some of our cameras are powered fully by solar. Depends on our locations. If I'm not mistaken, our Black Eagle cam is all solar. Many of them are in locations where there is power and they have solar as a backup. But obviously a lot of these areas are very remote and we have no choice but to use solar, and more of our cameras are going that way. It gives us a lot more freedom as well as to where we can put cameras. And one of the tricky things, of course, is we also need to get signal out to the world. So we need to be in areas where we can connect to generally cell towers, which allows us to then get signal out. So it all depends on each location. But yes, many of our cameras are solar. And who else out there? Somebody asked on chat yesterday, have you ever seen any twin baby elephants? And that was a question to me. So I have to answer that very politically because I'm not 100% sure. I didn't see them born, but we saw, this was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, we saw a pair of elephants who looked very much like siblings in terms of their age in a herd about 3 years ago, which suggested that they were twins. Now, it's very rare, but not impossible. The vast majority of elephant births are single births, but twins have certainly been recorded. And as I said, that particular instance, the way that the two were hanging around mom, we didn't actually see them nursing off of her, but it suggested that they were likely twins, which is very rare in the wild, even more rare in the wild than in captivity, where the majority of twins that have been recorded has been recorded in captivity. So it's a great question. I'm not 100% sure. I've never seen twins being born, but yes, I have actually seen them, what I think were twins, together at one time. So it's very rare, but you're never quite sure unless you witness it yourself. So great question. Thank you for that. which it's been suggested is a form of disruptive coloration. The kudu tends to spend a lot of its time in the thicker brush and bush, considered browsers, so they eat leaves mostly. Of course, they will graze and eat grass when it's available. But those little stripes, in theory, help to break up the silhouette of the animal. And if any of you have ever seen kudu in the wild out on a game drive, or even walking in the bush, what they often tend to do is, when you approach them, is instead of running off immediately, they'll often just stand dead still and stare back at you with those beautiful big ears. And this again suggests that they feel that they're quite well camouflaged when standing still. But of course, as you get too close, they will quickly move off and are incredibly fast and agile and very good jumpers. They are absolutely one of my favorite antelope species, the greater kudu. And Suki's just come back to let us know about that lion. She says it was today, and also that there sounds like very angry baboons at Olifants River. So maybe let's try head over there and see if we've got any sign of anything. Often the animals can give us what we call alarm calls, and it allows us to potentially be alerted to the presence of predators. So let's just listen out here. We've just crossed over to Olifants now. Nope. Sounds very peaceful now. You can only hear the lovely sound of the flowing river, Olifants River, of course. But I don't hear our baboons alarm calling or shouting anymore. They can often be a little bit misleading, baboons, when fighting amongst each other. They often give a similar sounding call to their alarm call, which they give when they see potential predators like lions and particularly leopard. Leopards are known to actively hunt baboons because they've got such amazing tree climbing skills. They can actually hunt them in the trees when they're roosting at night or in the day. Lions, now there is our baboons having all sorts of disagreements. It sounds to me like a family feud. You hear that squealing in the background is often related to the youngsters, teenagers, essentially, who are causing trouble and are being disciplined by the dominant males. I don't see them now. Let's have a look. You saw some of them running off under the trees there. And there's that beautiful baboon bark. And sometimes people get confused for dogs barking. But I have to say, folks, the way they're behaving to me suggests some kind of a territorial dispute rather than a predator on the scene. You never know, but that's certainly what it looks like to me. I just love that baboon call, though. It's such a typical African sound. And I know I've had many guests out on safari who've heard that in the dark of night. That, of course, is pretty intimidating if it's your first time in the bush. You don't know what that sound is. Yeah, they are territorial. And this could well be some sort of dispute like that, as I mentioned. We've got a couple of other questions that I wanted to get to. I wanted to see here. So Shiloh Shea was asking how big what's the average size of the nest for the black eagles? Normally around about 1 meter. Shiloh in diameter. And then Heidi Scarfoni says she's so excited to be heading to South Africa in the fall from Hamilton, Ontario in Canada. That's fabulous news, Heidi. I'm sure you're going to have an incredible time. Lots of good things to see here. I hope you'll manage to get to the bush at some point. Is that the culprit for all of this noise? Certainly part of the noise, I think. There on the right-hand side of your screen. Sitting and observing his land. Yeah, that is not the body language of a frightened baboon. So yeah, I'll stand by my theory. Then we had a question about the kudus as well from Philippe and Diane. Hi, Philippe and Diane. Welcome back. They asks, how good jumpers are the kudus? Well, I've heard that they can jump at a push around 3.5 meters, which is really impressive. If I'm not mistaken, that's around 15... No, not quite that far. Call it around about 12 feet or so from standing, which is really impressive for such a big antelope. But yes, very, very good jumpers. Actually considered quite dangerous on the roads of South Africa when you're driving around on the highways at night in the wilder parts of the country. They're known to try to jump over vehicles and often end up going into the windshield, which of course is very, very dangerous. But really beautiful, beautiful animals. It's part of the ways that they evade predators, that amazing skill, or jumping skill. But thank you for your question. Heidi also asks, is September a good time to visit? Absolutely, Heidi. It's actually a great time. Pretty much the start of spring for us. And if you are headed to the bush, also a good time for the predators often. At the end of winter, the end of the dry season, many of the animals are struggling a little bit more, the herbivores that is, in terms of condition. And so often you see a bit more predator-prey interaction and also a lot of concentration of the animals around the waterholes. So it'll be a great time to visit. Best of luck with that. And Looks like our baboons have finally calmed themselves. And he's just slipped away off picture as well. And then I saw another question which I thought was quite interesting as well. And let me just see if I can find it again. Oh, Andy asks, Russell, the lion at Olifants River, which I guess was the male that we saw walk in this area earlier today, looks to have hygromas of the elbow. Now, this is actually a very good question. He then says, I read that it's a reliable indicator for TB in lions, that's tuberculosis. And that is absolutely true. Essentially, it suggests, those hygromas suggest that those lions will almost indefinitely be positive for what they call the Mycobacterium bovis, which is essentially bovine tuberculosis. And the lions pick that up from, of course, eating buffalo. And it's an issue that has plagued many of the areas around Kruger National Park in southern Africa for many, many years. And though many of the animals can live with it, eventually it tends to catch up with them. And will often, at some point, lead to the death of those animals. So, yeah, a very good point, Andy. I think you're probably spot on. It's likely that is a good indicator of bovine TB. And there's others as well. They often lose condition, lose fur, and susceptible to many other diseases, viruses, and bacteria. But yeah, great observation as well. And then Pounce says there was not one baboon alert before he was well up in the tree last night, the leopard. I did see that we had a leopard at Olifants up in the trees, so they're not always on the lookout, the baboons, and of course that's how the leopards can take advantage, and they do take advantage. So another good observation, Pounce. And then Stephanie says, I need some ranger shows that teach me animal sounds that I can hear on camera. Well, I tell you what, Stephanie, come to the bush with us and we can show it to you in person. And CNAC asks, what calls are the weirdest in the bush, in my opinion? That's a great question as well. What is the weirdest call for me in the bush? I'll have to think about it. I think bush babies give a pretty weird call. Obviously, the name suggests what the call is like. It does sound like a crying baby in the night, and that can be a little bit strange. But I'll give it some thought of the weirdest calls that I think are in the bush. Let me know what your thoughts are. For those of you who watch the cameras, what do you think is the funniest call you've heard on the cameras here? And then Willie Jackson asks, how long have you been doing this with the animals? Willie Jackson, I've been working in the bush professionally since around 2004. And then I've worked as a naturalist and a safari and marine guide all over the world for many years since then. And I've been working as a private guide here in Africa, all over the continent, since 2013 as well. So a lot of time that I've spent in the wild. It's been a lot of fun and a great privilege. And then Christine says, Christine Karachi, I think. She says, seems like all that noise would attract predators. Absolutely, Christine. It is very likely. And it can and does do that, but animals in the wild are all about priority. And for those baboons, initially their priority will be establishing their territories. Plus, even a big predator like a leopard or a lion would think twice about approaching a big group of alert baboons. It's very unlikely they'll capture them or catch them without sneaking up on them. So more often than not, the big predators, despite all that noise, won't be paying much attention. When you do see the predators come a-running is when there's any kind of call or loud call of injury. Any kind of wailing of an injured or hurt youngster. Or, of course, if any other animal is attacked or in the process of being killed by a predator and they do call out, any other predators that hear that in the area will almost invariably come and check it out. So, very much a part of life in the bush here in Africa. And I'm not sure how to say your name, but I'm going to go Frogletama. Asked, do you mean the kudu can jump 3.5 meters in height or length? And that was height. Height, as I said, I've never seen that happen, but that is what the books tell us. I've seen them do spectacular jumps from standing of around 2 meters in height, but it is suggested that kudus can jump as high as 3.5 meters. So, yeah, amazing jumpers from standing. Much more than what you would think from what looks like such a docile and placid antelope. And you can see him in the back right of our picture now. And then Katiza and Andy and Denise, Dana, you all agree with me. I'm very happy to hear that the strangest call you've heard or hear in the bush is the bush baby. Yeah, it is so unique, and seems to, in my opinion, just stand out so much as a call in the wild. It just doesn't sound like it belongs there. So yeah, bush baby would definitely be one of mine. The strangest calls out there. Things are looking really beautiful and lush at Tau at the moment. So much diversity around in the area, and hopefully you'll all stay with us over the coming months as we head into the winter, where things start to get a bit more tricky for the old herbivores. And this area itself tends to dry up significantly. But we've seen some great predator and prey interactions here already this summer. I suspect we'll see a lot more as we head into the winter. So stick with us. You never know what might just happen. Good luck, Mr. Impala. All the best for this year. Well, folks, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. And thank you for all your questions today. It was lovely. Loads of questions that came through. Always fun chatting to you. But as always, we'll be back again next week, same time and same place. And hopefully we'll see you then. Stay tuned on the cameras, though. You never know what might just pop around the corner at any given time. And do keep an eye on the lady as well on the camera there. Those lions also may pop out at some point this evening. But otherwise, always a pleasure hanging out with you in the African wild. Have a wonderful and safe week further. I'll see you all again next week. Cheers for now.